within the rainforest. He had spent his days and nights beneath trees, the likes of which he had never seen. At the very top, some 200 feet over his head, these impossibly vibrant organisms formed a nearly solid canopy of green. Even in the brightness of noon, only trickles of watery sunlight ever filtered down into his great green prison. The absolute gloom of the place at all hours of the day was nearly unimaginable. Alone in the pit, his mind would drift to a treasured book from a boyhood long ago. The story of an innocent man likewise imprisoned in a world of darkness for crimes he had not committed. "I am lost," the hero of his book had said, a kindred spirit alone with his shadows. The book's title now slid into his mind. It was so perfect a description of his current circumstances as to be almost laughable. Darkness at noon. The runaway's scruffy, lice-infested black beard reached well below his sternum. His wild black hair, which fell to his waist, was tied with a strip of canvas into a tail at the back of his head. He was, as the old expression had it, skin and bones. He knew he would be unrecognizable should he miraculously chance upon a sliver of a broken mirror, or in his wildest moments of delusion some familiar soul. His only clock was an occasional glimpse of the moon. He had seen, he guessed, at least 6 full ones. He had lived by this lunar reckoning for more than half a year, in a place where life was sometimes cheap, but more often worthless. In the foul hovel where he slept and slaved, the solid canopy of trees kept his entire camp completely hidden from the sky. He hated every waking hour, but most of all he loathed the temperature drop at nightfall. The pitch-black nights were spent in a cold hell that had nothing to do with sleep, peace, or dreams. His home, before he managed to escape, had been a shallow pit, a dank hole he'd shared with others of his ilk, men whose names he did not know. At the bottom of his pit, where he slept and ate and defecated, a fetid pool of water. It was bone cold in that pit. At night, a makeshift thatch of palm kept most of the nocturnal vampire bats away, but not all. During his captivity, he had managed to close his eyes for only 3, or perhaps 4 hours per night. Mosquitoes stabbed at flesh rather than biting it, and swooping vampire bats seemed to favor a spot just below his right earlobe. It made sleep impossible. Each new day, which varied only slightly from the night before it, he and his bleak companions were awakened with buckets of cold water dumped into their pit. Then they were hauled up with short lengths of hemp, bleary-eyed and shivering. Miserable souls all, they were formed up into rectangular squads for roll call and marched en masse out to the work sites at gunpoint. There were many pits such as his, and there were probably many more such camps nearby. A vast army of laborers and soldiers was assembling. To what end he could not say, for he only had the vaguest notions about what went on beyond his immediate perimeter. He was desperate to learn what engine powered this vast machine. But to inquire would be to risk a quick, brutal death. Curiosity had nearly killed him once already. During the day, toiling with his machete or shovel, he heard the constant chatter of automatic weapons. Explosions ripped the jungle floor, sending plumes of dirt and green debris skyward. Gunfire was his perpetual soundtrack. The guns never stopped. At night, when the prisoners had their weekly bath at the river, he saw tracer rounds arc across the sky, and shells bloom and thud, hammering the air. He never knew why. He didn't know who was shooting, nor who was being shot, nor, after a while, did he much care. The cannons shattered the insect hum of nature. The jungle thrummed with background music of an inspired composer, punctuated by gunfire. There were guerrilla soldiers everywhere. They trained jungle warfare day and night. They used huge flaming torches mounted atop bamboo poles to continue firing rounds into the small hours. He'd once caught a glimpse of a small village of hollow buildings and fake-fronted houses. He saw men firing from empty windows and leaping over walls. The soldiers were training for urban warfare as well. His work gang was dedicated to road construction. The gang was constructing a simple limestone causeway in the jungle, a road to nowhere. This rough-hewn road had no beginning and no end. It just was. It simply disappeared into the jungle. No one knew where the highway led, and no one, except he himself, seemed to care. The highway meant something. It was part of a plan. He wanted to know. He meant to find out. He was a natural spy. And being curious by nature, the man kept his eyes and ears open day and night. He had no end of material to record. He would have killed, truly, for a pencil.